Hi, this is Jigar Sagar, a serial entrepreneur, strategic investor, and a government advisor in the UAE. As a part of building my legacy to empower entrepreneurship, I became an investor judge on the hit TV show The Final Pitch Dubai, now streaming on OSN Plus. In my journey, I came across multiple people, contestants, founders, and co judges, and I'm here speaking to a few of them about their life, their journey, and their experience. In this podcast, I will interact with some of the faces from the show, those that made an impact, those that mattered the most. And today, with me is someone very special from the show, Mark. Mark, to introduce you in a brief line, I would say you are an impact, sustainability, wellness driven entrepreneur. And you're also the CEO and founder of Daily Fi, a company that you got to the final pitch to buy. Um, introduce yourself, tell a little bit more about yourself to the audience.
Yeah, thanks for the invite. And obviously, yeah, a beautiful outcome of the final pitch was to connect with yourself. And to be here today is amazing. You know, it was an amazing journey kind of I went on personally, and obviously it's continued after. But yeah, just the journey to get there in the first place was, yeah, a story to tell. But I suppose the ABCs are, from the UK. And my daughter brought me over here to Dubai. She took a big leap of faith to take on a role over here about 18 months ago. I come to visit, introduce myself with some of what I do. And before I knew it, one thing led to another, and I found myself on the final pitch, amongst other amazing opportunities that I've come across over here. So yeah, I'm super grateful for the people I'm meeting and the things that are happening. So I've just kind of trudging the path.
Right. So obviously, I've gotten to know you a little bit from the time we've spent on the show and thereafter. But for the people who are probably seeing you for the first time, I want us to take them on a journey of an entrepreneur, right? A journey of someone who had the courage to represent their vision at a TV show and stand in front of investors and try to raise money. Um, let's go back to the past. Uh, at which point in your life did you ever think, or did you get that feeling that you have the entrepreneurial bug in you?
Yeah, good question. Yes, and it's funny because for a long time that word entrepreneur didn't really sit well with me for some reason. I've grown to respect and appreciate it, and now kind of own that I am one of them people, and that's the way that I live my life now with that entrepreneurial spirit and just that curiosity around my creativity and how I see the world and how I feel I can show up and what I can create and build. And I suppose I jumped into that sphere back in 2012, 13, around about that time. So a little while, 10 years to be an overnight success. So it's been, it's been longer than 10 years now. But yeah, amazing things have happened in that lifetime and in that time. And yeah, along the way, I just feel like I've really leaned in and trusted that this is the path that was meant for me. This is how the world wants me and needs me. But yeah, along that path brings a lot of obstacles, challenges, resilience, and I'm still here. So which is really cool. But before that, I suppose from an entrepreneurial lens, I've always been self-employed. I've never had a wage, so I've always had to kind of look after myself. If I didn't sell or whatever the scenario, I didn't earn. So I've always had that kind of get up and go, back myself, look after myself. So I suppose that served me well as I kind of truly jumped into this kind of entrepreneurial ways. And
It's funny you say that because growing up, I didn't even know the meaning of this word. I mean, I don't think this word existed in my vocabulary till a few years ago, right? Frankly speaking, but it was always about this hustle culture. It's always about doing something to make the buck. It was maybe chasing the money or whatever as a kid, I was looking towards doing. And there were reasons why I had to do what I had to do. I mean, It was never about bringing food to the table, but then everyone has a different reason why they go into doing what they do. For me, it was more about uh, creating probably a space for myself within the community, within the society, within the family.
Yeah.
Because when you're also surrounded by too many success stories, it sort of becomes a drive to challenge yourself more. What do you think growing up drove you to that mindset or that hustle culture?
Um, well, growing up was maybe quite tricky for me, just in regards to what I was up to, and I kind of part of my story, extreme story, is addiction and things of that nature. So I was very kind of lonely. It's very dark for me in my kind of teenage years, and kind of getting into 16, 17, 18. There was a lot of consequences around, yeah, that way of life and kind of where it led me, and insecurities, inadequacies, and just, yeah, very isolated, lonely place. So it wasn't until I sobered up, I found myself in rehab at 18, that my path changed and I went in a different direction. Started to get more hope, and then I settled down early. Had my two girls in my early 20s, got married, so I had responsibilities from early on. So the jobs and what I was kind of getting up to was more, yeah, providing, and maybe not, maybe getting a sense that creatively and the way that I was seeing the world, I was thinking in certain ways, but not really honouring that completely, because I knew I had other responsibilities. Before, I never had the luxury maybe of, some of the entrepreneurial stories of going to university and buddying up with co-founders, and then all of a sudden down that journey and just kind of throwing everything in with not too much consequence. It's all relative, I know. But anyway, I settled down and created the family, and then, yeah, I suppose, later on, with I'm quite solution based, and especially been in and around recovery and kind of self development, self discovery, I realised that there was a solution to most things. I didn't really lean into the conversation of complaining, and it was like, okay, what can I do, and how can I show up and contribute, as a way, as opposed to, yeah, take. So with that, it's kind of that kind of, yeah, created my creativity, and then one guy one day, a chance meeting, really loved one of the ideas that I had. And I suppose, you know, a lot of what you hear about is you need that one person to back you, to believe in you at a certain moment in time, to give you that encouragement, to propel you forwards. And literally, I haven't looked back since. I thank that man for so much. Um, he believed in something that I shared with him, and before I knew it, my life had changed forever. Yeah, we all need somebody somewhere to push us over, maybe.
Okay, so I mean, something that we were just talking about, and you briefly touched upon it, and you mentioned this also while filming the show, and um, but I think it's important for our audience to know that some of the most successful people actually get that drive when they are at the bottom. Um, so I don't think, I mean, we should brush it off. I mean, it's brilliant that you were able to climb back out of it. It was brilliant that you were able to go into rehab and come out of it and turn your life around positively. But do you think, had it not been for the darkness that you've seen, you would have had this drive?
Uh, I I doubt it. I don't really look back in a way and think, oh, what if, or if that didn't happen. I've learned over time, through recovery, to kind of, this is how it is, accept it, and kind of move on, and what goes for you can go against you. So there's fine lines with a lot of this, but yeah, I definitely kind of tuned into the frequency. Okay, this is how I am. What is your best way through? How can you pass through this? How can you move through this? How can you progress? And how can you use this to your advantage?
So
And
something you said, which was about being solution oriented. I
yeah,
mean, like, listen, I fall into a lot of trouble because my brain immediately switches on to the solution.
yeah,
And sometimes it's difficult to remind myself that I'm talking to a human being who's probably not jumping onto the solution, right? I mean, they want to dilly dally, they want to be wooed, and they want to discuss the topic. And in my brain, I'm like, can we jump to the solution? Like,
yes,
so I fall in a lot of trouble with people because they would consider it abrupt. They would consider it rude, even, right? I mean, if you don't give them that attention and that time span. But that's just how the brain processes, I guess, for each one of us. Um, in your case, why do you think your brain became a solution oriented brain?
I just think over time, with the hope that I was now getting, and how inspired I was, and how passionate I was for life, and just kind of seeing what was on the other side of that pushback, like the negative brain, the complicated brain of just trying to kind of create complexity when actually most things are quite simple. We confuse matters a lot of the time. We attach stories to it, we attach expectations to it, other people's opinions and judgments and comparison. It just gets very noisy and overwhelming. So, from giving up drinking and other, mind altering substances, I kind of found that, yeah, if you were to kind of take a moment and kind of just look beyond that initial thought and that compulsive kind of action, there's some freedom in there, and this is like from that place, what can I do? What can I kind of show out, however small that is? We don't want to kind of go straight to where we think we need to go. Incrementally, we can have a change. And like I said, just opening the door for somebody sometimes is a solution in a moment to make a difference. And then from there, you just kind of building blocks. The solution gets wider and the impact gets bigger, and then you're on your way. You just tuned into a different frequency, and yeah, I just think there's something beautiful in that. What can I give rather than what can I take? And yeah, it just kind of changes the mindset completely for me. And then yeah, just the inspiration comes. You can see the impact. You can see, how people are inspired by what you do, and how, as a consequence, they may be shifting their mindset in their own lives, and then that's the beautiful ripple effect of it all. It's just if you can just be that spark, founder of, people can then use that information and go off in their own lives and use it.
Yeah, I mean, listen, you said something about interacting with someone who believed in you, right? And had that, gave you that push, gave you that support. And I
Yeah.
mean, as a part of what I've been doing is obviously towards that perspective and, trying to build my legacy by creating some sort of an ecosystem for entrepreneurs. Because I think it comes on the back of not having it myself when I wanted to, and there was enough motivation and enough drive, but there was no know how, and there was a lack of any formal education that teaches you to be really entrepreneurial. I mean, an MBA degree does not prepare you for it.
Mm.
Um, so I think on the back of it, can you tell me a little bit more about that interaction and that journey? Because
Mm.
um, it's important to understand those moments that elevated you. And when people out there, when the audience hears this, the intent over here is that tomorrow either they know what they're looking for or they can be that person for someone else because words
Mm.
are very powerful. I mean, for
Huge.
me, um, words from His Highness resonates in my brain, and that drives me to do what I do. For example, I mean, I'm probably um, saying a few things to many people out there, and I know my words matter, and it's driving people. So
Mm.
in your case, you obviously are here.
Mm.
You're contributing a lot of what you've done to that one push from that one individual. Do you want to deep dive into it?
Yeah, and I very often share this story. It feels like such a long time ago, and it's just that kind of all that's needed, a little bit of naivety and just enthusiasm and blind faith and all the things really. But so round about that time, I was in a sales environment. I sold office equipment, so not the
Yeah.
most glamorous thing in the world. I kind of knew that I wasn't born to do that, but I was very good at it. Salesman of the year every year, and large part of the turnover, and I was very successful in that way, and loved where I worked, who I worked with. That I wasn't complaining necessarily, but I kind of knew, listen, this is what it is. But yeah, it's maybe not, what you're going to be doing for the rest of your life. And then, I was having a few ideas, and I used to jot them down, and I thought, oh, do you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to set up my own office equipment firm, not to be, globally recognized or, create the next big thing, but just to generate enough to invest in myself and my own ideas, just to kind of get a bit of clarity as to what they look like. And And so I did that. I took that leap of faith, which in itself is entrepreneurial, I suppose, but
Yeah.
very transactional. It was like hardware, nothing glamorous still, but I knew I could do it, you know?
I mean, it still takes a lot of courage
Yeah.
to leave the safety environment of a job
Yes.
and
Yeah.
to become, that first point
Mm.
in that journey of becoming that entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Taking that first step is
Yeah.
not easy.
No. And it's very, like I said, I brush over that a little bit. Yeah, a lot. And young girls at the time, 5, 6, give or take. So I knew it was a big leap, but I knew that I could do it, you know. And but like I said, with my kind of ambition largely being around investing in ideas that I had, and just seeing what that looked like, that was enough for me to take that leap of faith. But very, very quickly, I went to a networking event, which I never networked, and I still don't really, but someone suggested it's probably worthwhile to do it, just go and expand your mind and get yourself out there. And it was our local economic development strategy, where I lived in the borough of Broxbourne, just on the outskirts of London. They were talking about town centre vibrancy, community engagement, inactivity in the next generation, all really, passionate things in my life because I was a dad, and I cared about where I lived, and very community orientated. And I had this idea for a running event that kind of just was an email that I emailed myself, just a title. It was called Give Your Town a Run Around. I thought it was sounding quite catchy. Nothing else, no branding, no website, no event management experience, no nothing. I went up to the director of the economic development strategy afterwards, and I said, I really loved what you shared today. I'd be keen to share something that I feel could contribute towards this conversation. It's not why I come today, but if you want to have a coffee, we can have a coffee. He met me the next day, shared the vision. Whatever you need, we're there. There's certain things we can't do because we're local authority, and it'll probably take you 2 years where you could do it in 6 months. This was in the April, sorry, and in the September, first event, closed down roads, few thousand people in the local high street. I knew no one, got all the sponsorship, got it all sustainable, got the website, got everything. And I was like, okay, maybe I can do this thing. That then turned out to be the most recognisable, best idea for towns in the UK. Got voted top social entrepreneur. Give Your Town a Run Around, then birthed a community interest company called Your Town. We created primary school initiatives around the UK for 9, 10-year-olds, just around how they could contribute to local community, how they could feel part of something. We created Your Town Runners, Your Town Walkers. We then franchised out the larger event to different local authorities around the UK from that one meeting, from him just kind of thinking, um, and then, like I said, the rest was history. And that was everything that I got up to for years, up until COVID times. And
Right.
very important part of my life.
Yeah, but I think it's as simple but
Mm,
as complex.
mm,
The simple thing was what you just said. I reached out to him and I said, I have something to
mm,
show you or talk to you or
mm.
discuss with you. The complex part is also that you went up and told him, I have something to show you.
Yeah.
Because there's so many people out there that sit with these thoughts in their head.
Mm,
And in their head, they've gone and done that meeting a million times.
mm,
But in reality, they fail to
mm.
get up from the chair and just say hello.
Yeah. Oh, I really cracked on. Like literally, mate, after that meeting, I got the logo. That's obviously changed, but there's that initial, that really beautiful,
Absolutely.
that really beautiful stage where you just kind of, just starting to put things together and form something. The energy starts to build, and I mean, like I said, lots of concept that just all just landed out of my mouth, but there was a lot to it, the ups and the downs, and all of a sudden the entrepreneurial life was becoming very real. The sacrifice, the resilience needed, the processes, what to do, when, how, and it was scary, and I was doing it all from event management to risk assessment to creating the route to the website to raising the sponsorship to building the relationships. I had no idea of branding and building a business, and it's social enterprise. So that adds a layer of something to it because it wasn't commercial, it was very impact driven, which is just, a common thread throughout my entrepreneurial journey. But in the same breath, very exciting, but I kind of learned quite quickly as well is I didn't want to kind of fall into this selfish, self-centered, okay, this is what I'm doing now, because there's other people involved in my life, and I didn't want this to be at the sacrifice of that. I didn't want to be like a workaholic and all that type of
Yeah.
life. So it's very, wanted
But
back.
you do end up getting busy.
Yeah, it's very busy, and I wanted to show up for my kids, obviously, and be a father at the same time. So it was, but it is interesting. You realize how much you want something along the way, and I really wanted this, and that's where I started to think this is rare before, although successful in some ways. I know I wasn't born to do it. Now I wasn't, the financial side of it wasn't coming necessarily, but I knew I was on the right path. This is exactly where I needed to be.
Yeah, I think there is something. There's a voice within you, and I think it exists for every entrepreneur who takes that leap of faith, and they know whether they're doing it for the right reasons or they're just doing it for the money. I mean, and usually the right reason is to create an impact, solve a problem,
Mm.
bring something to the table that doesn't exist,
Yeah,
or bring a better version of something that exists.
yeah. And
Uh,
my town at the time was kind of positioned as like a ghost town. Town centres in the UK were changing, high streets were changing, people weren't engaging with them, supermarkets, that community feel was getting lost. And yeah, there was no kind of activities necessarily like running events. There was no running club. So like I said, that kind of true founder of, okay, I feel like this place needs something if I could be that spark. And it still exists today. I was just not there because it wasn't about me. It was about gifting something to my town, me playing my part for 4 or 5 years, being consistent every single week, every single year. And now it's thriving, and I can just step away and think, okay, that's kind of cool, and yeah, beautiful times, and yeah, I love a big smile on my face. Yeah, I went to see them over Christmas time,
okay.
um, and yeah, like I said, it's still kind of thriving and doing a lot of good in the local town.
Yeah, I mean, listen, like for me, from a business perspective, I can relate to it because I've created companies, I've had some successful exits, and so which means by the nature of that exit, I don't have anything to do with those businesses. But um, being a part of that founding team and knowing what you've created and knowing it's out there thriving,
Mm,
it gives you an immense sense of satisfaction.
yeah.
And it actually drives me even more to do something more and different and, keep pushing and not just sitting on your laurels kind of a thing.
Mm.
Because you want to create more of those. You want to create more of those stories. You want to leave more impact in the world out there.
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, yeah, naturally and organically. You don't create things for the sake of it. Like this didn't exist.
Yeah.
This was just an idea. Kind of collectively, it was unique. Individually, it's a running event. But in towns, they weren't really a thing. Like everyone from our towns went into the cities. That's where all the glitz, the glamour, the Nikes, the Adidases. And it's just like, actually, if we can create something just as important, just as glitzy, but in your local town, and it's very relatable. And everyone that I used in the materials, we created commercials and adverts and posters, but there was like the local postman and the butcher and
Nice.
so people could recognize them points of interest. So it's very kind of like, okay, yeah, this is where I live. I can take some pride in this. So it's unique in a lot of ways as well. And for that to not exist and all of a sudden to be born is yeah, then all of a sudden I kind of realise, which is a big part of being an entrepreneur, I suppose, there's a skill set in creating something out of nothing, and just having this idea and bringing it into fruition, and having the ability to see it through and not just start something and forget about it or give up, So yeah, there's lots of behaviours that you need to hold tight because it gets very funky. You know, it gets very funky.
Yeah. I mean, listen, as a part of having done this, out in the UK, you did mention that, your daughters mean the world to you,
Mm,
and you've been very vocal about it. And your shift or your move to Dubai was also on the back of that family
yeah.
and, wanting to be a part of that, and wanting to be a great father that you are. Um, how was it coming to Dubai? Because, we're talking about after the pitch, and it's about we met at the final pitch Dubai, and you being in Dubai is what brought us
Yeah.
um, in Connect. So, how was it coming to Dubai for the first time? What were the questions you were asking yourself even before the move? And, what were some of the questions you had? And how did you deal with those questions before and after the shift?
Yeah, a lot of people, as they're getting to know me and kind of the story, which I'm about to dive into a little bit now after your question, is fascinates a lot of people because around about that time, the UK is going through a lot of troubles. Always, everywhere, it's got its challenges, no matter where you are in the world. But especially on channels like LinkedIn, it was just like everyone was going to Dubai, and it's just like the opportunities, the connections, the people, and everything it represents, and more really. And but although it was the same time, that's not why I come. You know, it wasn't on my radar necessarily. I had a beautiful thing that was being built in the UK very organically, and I was taking my time, being patient. And but yeah, like I said, my daughter took an opportunity here, so she moved down the August. I come to see her in November, so a significant amount of time considering I saw her daily. So there was a good couple of months there. I knew she was working, so I knew it wasn't a holiday for me. But I'm also founder of the Grateful Mile, which is all about movement and gratitude. So I thought I was going to come, introduce myself to the local community, introduce the Grateful Mile, meet people. It's a beautiful experience, quite a light lift. And yeah, very quickly, you know, people just really appreciated my willingness to contribute, you know, and to kind of show up and do what I done. And I knew Daily Five was kind of in the background. Wasn't really ready to speak about at the time, but it was there. And just very organically, I then got invited within a couple of weeks to come back and speak at a wellness festival. So that was my next trip. And then I got invited back to do something else. That was my next trip. Before I knew it, I was just back and forth every couple of weeks, and things were happening very organically. But it's very much sleeping on my daughter's sofa, you know, just backing myself. And each trip was being financed, and it's like, okay, what does this feel like and look like? I didn't want to shift focus, but something very beautiful, a nice energy, and people were really, yeah, supportive, and there's a real willingness there to see if they could kind of, yeah, you know.
As a family man,
Mm.
um, we know about the tattoos. Just for the people that don't know, do you want to talk a little bit about that? Because I'm sure people are intrigued.
Yeah, I've had a few. I only meant to get one, and yeah, mostly it's in and around my girls. You know, they've kind of jot things down and write on me and doodle on me, and I kind of just get it tattooed. There's a lot of reference to gratitude on there. Got the old grateful there on the knuckles. Always sparks conversation, especially on the tubes in London. They're trying to work out what it says, and I'll do that. And it's nice 'cause it opens up a conversation around gratitude, which has been beautiful over time. But yeah, just it's a way of self-expression, you know, stereotypical tattoo. You know, everyone's got a story, and I've got a lot of hearts on me, and there's not just reference to just trying to give love into the world, maybe, or surround myself with that type of energy and positivity. And yeah, no, you know, without sounding too romantic again, it's yeah, you know, I believe that love is, you know, a huge power, you know, a huge source of good. And if we could just look at, you know, how we can relate, and rather than, you know, how we can't relate to each other, and how we can all kind of coexist. And a lot of that is kind of, yeah, brought out on my skin, you know, look at what we have got rather than what we haven't got, who we are rather than who we aren't. And from that place, I feel like we can do some good. And so yeah, I tend to jot that down on me to remind myself.
No, it's amazing because I think what you're doing is an amazing thing,
Mm,
which is uh, putting a positive message out there,
yeah.
right? You're helping other people live a better version of their life. In my experience, from all the various people I interact with and network with, some of the most successful people in business are the ones who care about things.
Mm,
They're not just selfish, they genuinely care
mm,
about making the world a better place, about impacting lives. All the while, if they can make some money while at it, why not?
mm,
And, I'm grateful to what I have in life too. But, there's something unique about you, which is um, you bring that energy into the room. And, my advice to you would be that no matter what direction the business takes, don't lose your inner substance.
mm. We can do
Yeah, there's
something.
something about the city, isn't there?
Yeah,
It's not.
yeah, there is.
It's not just about being somewhere and having the brain. I mean, yes, you can be an odd one out in any other city and succeed, but then there's something about the city which sort of forces every founder or every individual to succeed. Whether it's in their job, in their career, in their business. Um, how do you see that trend and vibe in Dubai since you've moved, and especially after the show, where people must be coming up to you, some recognition for what
Yeah,
you've done in
I've heard it a few
life.
times. Yeah.
Um, so how do you see that? Like, do you see people pushing you? to be better, or do you see people dragging you down because they don't want to see you succeed?
Yeah, no, definitely not the dragging down thing. 100% not. No, no. And which is great. I'm sure that's out there in some way, but it's not where I exist or where I kind of hang out. I still keep myself very much to myself in some ways. Um, but no, I'm just further encouraged. It just feels like a place in which I'm just kind of trusting the path of it, and I mean, at the end of the day, if you're not a great person, if you let people down, if your product isn't very good, then it doesn't matter where you are. You're probably not going to hang around for too long, or you're going to be told very quickly, listen. Even if you are a great guy, if your product don't stack up, it's and the world's harsh in that way. And I suppose as an entrepreneur, you need to acknowledge that as well. It's just the best idea in the world, but a lot of it is around alignment and timing and a bit of luck here and there. But yeah, so far so good. I'm treating it with a little bit of caution, because you need to. Like I said, I take what I do very, very seriously and with big responsibility. But as things stand, I've been very, very encouraged. I'm taking that leap of faith over here to be a lot more consistent than I have been, and even then, I've spent more time here than not over the last 14, 15 months. And yeah, we see where it takes us. But yeah, there's no reason to believe that it's not going to keep going upwards because I know the product's strong enough. I know the world needs it. I know Dubai needs it. I know this region needs it. I know that as we grow and expand and add more, not for the sake of it, but with intention, I know it's going to do amazing things. And now you just need the right people in the right places to facilitate certain aspects of it. And so stripping away a lot of what I've just shared now is just right people, right places. We're not reinventing the wheel. It's business. It's building business, and there's pretty much a blueprint out there for that. And
Absolutely.
although that's not how I see the world, sometimes it's a good management team in place. I do what I do, and it should look after itself. Yeah, super,
Yeah.
super, super excited about the opportunity.
So how did you get introduced to the concept of the final pitch to buy?
Yeah, well, there's an amazing guy who was co-founder of Lively.
All right.
And he got introduced to me, and he very quickly, really appreciated what I was about, and my authenticity kind of shone through, and he was just looking to kind of maybe connect me where appropriate. But then the final pitch was starting to kind of gather a lot of momentum out here, and he was just like, listen, there's this thing coming over. I'd love to introduce you to the guys, and I think like what you've got going on could be really interesting to them. So I was like, okay, well, this is where we are. It's an online platform, just kind of seeking a level of investment, but I didn't really want to go down the investor route, etc., etc. It was like, no, listen, that we respect where you are in the process. It's because I associate it with some of the UK shows, which is quite cutthroat. This typical, where are you? Where's your numbers? Where's this? There? And I didn't want to embarrass myself and kind of short term kind of take these decisions knowing that, it wasn't, I was here for the long term, so sometimes the glitz of a TV show might just be all of a sudden, the lights go on and you're like, oh, that could be great, I'll look beyond that sometimes. But anyway, like I said, the opportunity arose. I kind of introduced Daily Five as what I was working on, and they accepted it.
So was there any anxiety, anticipation,
Oh, huge.
nervousness,
Yeah.
post that initial submission?
Yeah.
Like, because I want to understand the psyche, the emotions, the brain of a founder, of an entrepreneur,
Mhm.
once they have done what they can do, which is submit
Yeah.
their application.
Yeah. Oh, there's so much to this story. We ain't got enough time, and there's levels of transparency. I mean, I'm quite an open book. I get not emotional, as in I'm a sensitive guy, but I wear my heart on my sleeve, and I'm all about that kind of entrepreneurial life, and never painting that great picture all the time. I think we all know we've all got a certain lived experience to suggest behind closed doors. It can get very, very, very tough, very lonely, very isolating, and the sacrifices and especially kind of financially and other bits and pieces. So in and around that time, I was building myself back up back in 2021. I lost everything. I don't think I shared too much on the show, if I'm honest. I literally lost everything, and very, very, very difficult, very difficult. Um, just circumstantially, a few things were going on at that time, and yeah, it hit me really, really hard. So I spent a couple of years after that to build my confidence back up with the Grateful Mile, doing some amazing things around the world and really leaning into that frequency. Um, but yeah, as things were kind of gathering momentum in around the final pitch, I was very hesitant, like I said, one, because I knew where we were, but secondly, to kind of create this this idea again around expectation and around what could happen, and I just really wanted to hold tight and a little bit, because there was a lot of fear there. And but yeah, the idea of pitching, I don't pitch. I'm not a serial networker, and so to all of a sudden be thrown into TV cameras in front of investors with that level of vulnerability about your idea, and and around how you see the world, and it's very, like I said, social impact. It's not, commercially, it's very attractive, but there's still that kind of, very much about having, a positive impact in the world with people's mental, physical fitness, mental, physical health. So, it's a little bit romantic for some. So I knew, but after being over here for an amount of time, I knew that people really cared. And I knew that there was a big vision over this side of the world that, yeah, this is being, very well thought of, and wants to be invited in. So I knew that maybe I could be a part of that story, and kind of, yeah, introduce myself in Daily Five to something quite new in a lot of ways, and that really excited me. So that was, yeah, a lot of why I said yes in the end, in and amongst the chaos of the day to day and trying to build and raise and just kind of create
But you
something.
see that there's this consistency of a pattern here that again, it took for you to lose it all
Mm,
to bring and find that drive forward.
yeah, I go deep.
Yeah, you had, I mean, because I think this is what it boils down to. I mean, people unfortunately complain about being on the down. And only if they can see it as an opportunity to rise higher than ever before. Because when you're at that moment, when you're in that zone, when you've lost it all, or you're going through a depression, or it could be psychological, it could
Mm,
be financial, could have lost someone you love, but it's usually in those circumstances where you find your true courage.
yeah.
You find the fearless version of yourself, because I think at that point you're forced to, at some extent, because you don't have anything else to lose, or at least you believe you don't.
Yeah, yeah, that's
And
it.
you
And
know,
also that terminology as well is like, I could easily have said, 'cause I lost a lot. I've lost everything, but true gratitude style, without jumping over that experience, because you can easily say, "Oh, it could be worse. It could be worse," which is true. But also, you don't want to belittle your own experience that you're going through. You need to honor it. You need to move through it. You need to grieve it, not escape it, learn from it, as you mentioned. Critical, and also be wise. When's a good time to stop and give up, because there's a big difference.
yeah.
If alarm bells are ringing and a lot of people are suggesting you're flogging a dead horse, then you need to step away, not get so romantic and emotionally
Oh
involved
yeah.
in it. So there's a lot in play, and also your own self-development, as things evolve, and where's your lane? You can't be something to everybody, so then you've got to kind of let go. And so, yeah, like I said, there's a lot to it, but yeah, to have that courage to kind of come back from something was
So
big.
in terms of being on the show, and people have seen it, it's on OSN Plus,
I've not
and
seen it.
um, there's a version that the audience sees, and there's a version that you live through, and they are two different things. Um, what is it that you think was impactful that happened off camera? Because the world doesn't see that, right? So let's talk about that moment, because the rest they can see on telly.
Mm. Cool, so much. What's the headline? What comes to mind first? I suppose off camera, a couple of things come to mind. The first thing is just the friendships that you kind of make, as the entrepreneurs, and like, we're all on this journey, slightly different stages, but collectively we were pretty much on the same page where, we were looking to grow and expand, and, needing a level of investment to do that. But just to kind of know, as I've already alluded to, it get really lonely and isolating. So to kind of be surrounded by that energy consistently on pretty much a day-to-day basis, knowing that, yeah, there's a bit of a vibe, we're all in this together, type thing. That was amazing. That's not the, yeah, behind the scenes kind of stuff. We had some giggles, we had some tears, so that was nice to kind of just interact in that way. And then, yeah, behind that, I still had a business to run. I was still building Daily Five. It was a live living thing, and there was still partnerships that were kind of getting over the line. There was still we were building the online platform and the content and planning and strategizing. And funny enough, I just got some investment over the line in the UK just before going on the final pitch. So there was that onboarding new systems, processes, onboarding the investors, and so yeah, all that was kind of going on in between takes, and so just grabbing moments in time to email and get back to calls and the time zones, and yeah, and
Yeah.
then
And in regards to the Daily Five, you being the founder, you being on the show, um, at one point there was that elimination within the show, and you obviously crossed that barrier.
mm,
Um, did you really have hope of doing that before getting into the show?
Jigar, I kid you not, I didn't even know what I was walking into. I really didn't. Walked into it kind of blind. Like I said, there was a lot going on at the time. I knew it was significant, but until I turned up on that day and kind of see the setup and everyone, I was like, "Oh, cool! Like this is a proper thing." So when the eliminations kind of come up, I was like, I realized in that moment that actually I really want this and I really want to progress. So when my name got called, obviously yourself taking me through, there was yeah, a real in the moment excitement of like, oh, okay, we're here, and yeah, no, a real excitement. Yeah, it was a really great moment actually. Really different. You don't find yourself in that situation very often. So it was yeah, really cool, and not too dissimilar to that guy all them years ago. It's obviously nice along the way that people kind of half get you and are curious to kind of see, where you can go and to have that level of backing and belief everywhere. We're only human. We need some of that sometimes, and
Absolutely.
and that was a big part of it as well. Was okay, yeah, they want to hear more, and yeah, let's see what that looks like. Yeah, it's great.
And as a part of that journey, I mean, we've seen the finale, we've seen where the business has gone. I'm not going to reveal much. For those who haven't seen, we'll let them go on, the app and see the episodes. But post the final pitch, so this is all about after the pitch. Do you want to talk a little bit about your personal journey as a founder, as an entrepreneur?
Mm.
What changed, what evolved, and not just focusing on Daily Five, but you as an individual?
Yeah, whew, a lot. My other daughter is moving over here in 3 weeks.
Nice.
So we're all kind of transitioning over, which is amazing and very unexpected. So on a personal level, yeah, lots of moving parts and changes, which is exciting. But obviously, there's a level of anxiety there because, but I'm going to move, connect, and reflect my way through it, and adapt. And that's what it's all about: how we adapt to life, how we adapt to that kind of dance between, if you want things to happen, things happen. And if things happen, there's things to do. And so without getting caught up in the overwhelm and the anxiety. So that's amazing. My network is just kind of growing, in regards to the enthusiasm for, what we're doing over here and the level of support and the willingness to be part of it in some way. So that's great. The app's, now live. And if it wasn't for the final pitch and the feedback that largely you gave, we accelerated the app process, and so that's super super exciting. And yeah, I'm just rolling with it, trusting it. There's still a lot going on in other places of the world, but this is where I feel like I need to be at the moment. This is where I feel like yeah.
And talking about Daily Five, because that's what, as a founder, you got to the show, right?
Yeah.
That's what you were pitching. Where did the idea originate?
Well, a lot of it is from that entrepreneurial journey, taking away that title.
What would you say would be that one defining moment when you said the world needs it?
It started to be imagined early COVID times. I started to put a title to it and a framework to my way of living around movement, connection, reflection, how I navigated through life. And it's like, okay, what does this feel like? Like, what's my own experience with physical, mental movement? What am I open to? What am I closed to? Why am I closed to it? All these questions. During COVID, I had maybe time to open my mind up even more because I was hyper focused on your town, the CIC that I mentioned. And yeah, just again with the entrepreneurial juices flowing and creative juices flowing, I started to put pen to paper and title, move, connect, reflect. What kind of sat under them umbrellas? How could it exist in the world? And how could I kind of invite others to maybe this train of thought around how we navigate through our own circumstances at different stages of our life cycle? And yeah, all 5 minute are kind of thinking, okay, one of the barriers is time and committing to challenges and, you know, times and months and years, and we
So
haven't
for
got
people
time.
who haven't necessarily used Daily Five, or um, if you had to introduce the Daily Five as a
Mhm.
business, how would you do it?
Well, now it's an app. So yeah, it's a well-being platform, physical, mental fitness, 5-minute guided sessions to support you wherever you are in your life, no matter where you are physically, mentally. We'll 100% have an experience for you, and it's all about building positive habits incrementally, just being consistent, showing up for yourself, and as a consequence of that, showing up for others. And just getting a deeper understanding of who you are, where you are, and how you're going to get to where you need to get to. And if you don't know, we've got a framework to kind of provoke thoughts, give you a level of guidance, and away you go. So we, like I said, we literally meet you halfway. So multiple ways of moving the body and the mind, and I kind of largely position it as the Spotify for wellness.
Yeah,
And
that's a nice way of putting it.
yeah,
Listen, as a part of the show, something I told you was that at some point you're so heavily invested in the idea that you'll need to bring in someone else to be invested in the business element, and it's usually not easy for founders to let go of what is their baby,
yeah.
right? I mean, it's not easy for founders and entrepreneurs to accept that they can't take care of the 360.
Mm.
How was that for you?
I'm going to keep throwing it out there. I'm moving, connecting, and reflecting my way through it. You need to be humble. You need to look at how you react, not take things personally. And it's very hard. Like I said, the human behaviors, especially when you're emotionally attached and it's your baby. Yeah, it's difficult, but you've always just got to kind of bring it back to why it exists. Why you're doing what you're doing. It's not about me. It's about it. You know, a little bit of saying a lot of nothing. I don't want to kind of, as much as I can go for it, I can go against it. All these little one-liners I'm throwing out. So constantly, just internally, just like the language that I use, and because it is hard. When people, um, you just don't want to get too caught up in it. And because it's very easily done, and I'm hyper aware of level of self awareness. It's what you do with that self awareness that's important. And it's
So you have the app now.
yeah.
Um, you've spoken about that, but for Dailify,
Mm.
what's the future? What's next? What's coming up? If you can, share some insights with the audience. What should they expect next from Dailify?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, the app's live. So this last period of time, last 3 or 4 weeks, you're just tightening up on, as you well aware of, just like the UX UI side of life. But it's functional, and I believe we're in a really, really good place, really strong place. Current day, and as always, nature of the beast with tech. It's not building for the sake of building. We want to build with intention and getting the learnings and the insights. Now we're getting a level of engagement, and we're going live with all the partnerships. But we're going to exist in many environments, from education to corporate to direct to consumer. We've got some amazing partnerships going on, both in the UK and over here, and wider afield, which is super exciting. The appetite for it is really encouraging, and more filming, kind of building out the experts that exist on the app. We've got 60-65 experts on there, from life coaches to PTs to breath teachers to yoga teachers to meditation teachers. So really trying to create an ecosystem where they can thrive and earn and be seen and heard and do what they love. So collectively, over time, the vision is to get the world moving, connecting, reflecting, daily. And I think the world will be a better place for it. I think we have more understanding of how we can all coexist and get along, but not creating an ideal world either. We don't even want them. We never will do. And that's not to sound defeatist. That's just being realistic. We're not promising happiness all day, every day. We're just, a realistic approach to life. We're going to have our ups and downs, and some days are going to be better than others. So we just need to, do our best to kind of get through that, and I believe we've got a framework to do that. But now we just need to tell people and getting them on board, and kind of engaging with it and trying these things, and hopefully it serves them well, and then the impact will be that it'll be up to them to take responsibility, and we can just be that spark for them. We're not here to save their lives. We're here to just give them a little nudge.
Right. Listen, I mean, for someone who says I'm not a very social person, I keep to myself. having witnessed you on the show with the rest of the peers out there and the contestants out there and the founders out there, you were the popular one. Everyone's rooting for you. You're very friendly. You bring that energy into a room, that uplifting spirit. Um, so as much as you keep saying that you're not into networking, but then on the other side, I feel like, okay, here's someone who's been able to bring these amazing specialists and therapists and experts, subject expert matters, for all matters, health, wealth, mental health, things like that. And you're now putting a team together. You have a team already in place. You're growing it. You're making it better for the sake of your business. You're willing to let go of your ego, uh, and accept the reality as is. And at the same time, the product's there. You're focusing on it. I mean, the next step for you is all about taking it to the market, letting enough people know of this beautiful value that you have created. Because, like you said, the world's in a place where each and every one of them could do with 5 minutes of,
Hmm.
move and connect. So, from that perspective, do you have any piece of advice or lessons learned that you want to share with the founders who would like to pitch and would like to raise funds and like to bring their vision to life? Um, any words of wisdom, suggestions from your side?
A kind of a word that always kind of comes to my mind on a daily basis, really, in whatever situation, whether you're pitching or just going out into the world and looking to contribute in some way, is just to kind of show up. You never reach that perfect time. You've never reached that ideal time when you feel like you're 100%. Everything's kind of locked in. And so I try not to give myself for that. It's just give what you've got in that day, in that moment. And if you feel like the fear's taken over, just lean into the faith and just thinking, okay, I've got this opportunity here. Like, what's the alternative? I'm always looking at that side of life as well. Like, if I wasn't to do this thing, would I be any worse off? Might not maybe end up where you want to end up, but you're going to be a step in either direction. So yeah, just kind of show up and to the best of your ability, trust yourself. In amongst the self doubt and the uncertainty, which is very real, especially maybe on the entrepreneurial journey. Just kind of trust your next step. And if more than a couple of people suggest you do something, then maybe there's something there, because, yeah, listen to our own selves. Sometimes we might restrict ourselves from these opportunities because of, yeah, the inner critic, should we say.
A message that if that you're putting out there is to take action,
Yes.
is to do,
Yeah.
because it's easier to keep thinking.
Mhm.
And I think, even from my experience, when I meet founders and then meet people who wish they were founders but are not, it's usually that's the difference, which
Mm.
is either you go get it or you don't.
Yeah.
You keep thinking about it,
Hmm.
and that is probably what regrets end up being in life, that you wish you could have tried, tested, done.
Yes.
um, as an entrepreneur, you obviously have launched different businesses, and Daily Five is your latest baby. Do you have anything in the pipeline that you want to share with the audience that's coming up next, or is it just Daily Five?
All Daily Five. I mean, the Grateful Mile exists in the world and it does some amazing things, literally all around the world. So that's kind of running alongside it. But yeah, it's very organic and very intentional in regards to the impact that has, non transactional. It's just something I'm very proud of. But yeah, Daily Five is, there's a lot going on with that. I need to give that my full attention. And so he's got the best opportunity to do what I think he can do. But no doubt Sunday somehow, although I've got a lot going on, I've got a busy mind and very creative at heart. Yeah, I kind of know when to, not think about other things, because I want to, focus on this and see it through, and that's my intention.
Listen, something that made me be a part of this show was the fact that it wasn't as simple as just hearing a pitch and deciding to invest, right? It was that whole journey of the mentoring, through and even post, because, the shooting period's usually shorter, and it's all about what happens once the show is over. And the fact that this platform allowed us to continue that interaction. And, I came on board as an advisor to you for Daily Five. And there are many people, seeing this, listening to you. And again, if I continue with that trajectory and mindset, who would you like to connect with today? Because, if you don't ask for that connect, and if you don't ask for that help, and if you don't reach out, it's not going to happen, right?
Mm.
So if we were to use this after the pitch as a platform to keep chasing what you need next as a part of your objective, what are you looking for next?
Mm,
Who do you want to meet next?
yeah, I mean, as always, not just from a personal point of view, but just to kind of expand my network and meet good people doing good things. So that's just a given, and that organically happens anyway. But from a daily five perspective, we've got a keen focus on this next quarter or so, just in and around the corporate life and workplace well-being. See if we can have an impact on the culture. Introduce. It's a big conversation. The stress, the overwhelm, the day to day, and not just in this part of the world, but there's a lot going on here in the city. So yeah, if we can have an impact in the workplace over in this region, it'd be amazing. And there's a real appetite. So that's going to B2B is a keen focus. So anyone out there kind of interested, in a workplace environment where they feel like Daily Five could do some good, reach out. That'd be amazing. And then yeah, further afield, there's other chats going on in around education in particular, which is something I'm deeply, deeply passionate about. But short term, B2B.
All right. So if you're out there running a business and you think your employees and your teams work in a stressful environment, connect with Mark from Daily Five, because all it takes is 5 minutes from their time on a daily basis to deal with that stress, to help them become better versions of themselves. And, not just as an employer, but someone in position of influence, it's your responsibility to positively influence the lives of these other individuals. So reach out to Mark, because all it takes is 5 minutes to make an impact. Help them de-stress, help them move, help them connect, help them network, and you will see positive results that these team members bring back into your business. Listen, it's been wonderful talking to you. Any parting words?
No, just appreciate your kind words and your feedback, and just your willingness during and after the final pitch to continue to guide and mentor and feedback and be part of what we're putting together, and your belief in it, and me. And yeah, it's just grateful. I'll just see where the journey takes us. And I'm not going to be a stranger over here. So yeah, I'm curious to see what's gonna play out in the tapestry of life.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Pleasure.
Thank you, mate.
I am Jigar Sagar. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you all on the next episode of After the Pitch.